evening.
Good evening.
This way. Okay, got it. All right. Je voulais commencer ce soir par vous donner une petite idée de l'expérience d'un étudiant dans le programme de EAP à HCC. Imaginez que vous ne comprenez que quelques mots ici et là. Vous voulez comprendre plus, mais pour faire cela, vous devez vous débrouiller dans une langue que vous ne parlez que très peu. Yeah. I thought I'd start by giving you a little taste of what it might be like to be one of the students who want to learn English well enough to attend school here, but they have to navigate a system that's in the language they need to learn in order to do it. Needless to say, it's a victory just getting into the classroom that first day. These students are very motivated, determined, and diverse, and they are why I wanted to talk to you about diversity this evening. So, say you're a non-native speaker of English who wants to learn English here at HCC. Guess what your first step is? Fill out an application. Or find someone who knows that information and can tell you that in a way that you can understand. So, now you have this application in front of you. Perhaps you have a friend who can help you. Perhaps you develop a very close relationship with Google Translate. Once you fill out an application, figure out if you're a resident or not, if you can get financial aid or not. You have to get your high school diploma translated and evaluated. Next stop after you get your student number is to go see an advisor who gives you a slip, who will give you so you can go take a placement test to see which of the 6 levels of English you'll be placed in. All this in a language that you're trying to learn, so you can imagine how motivated you have to be to attempt this. You'd also have to be very patient and very determined. Completing the EAP program isn't like taking a couple of semesters of French or Spanish. It's not like you can take SPM 1120 and 1121 and then study at a university in a Spanish-speaking country. It's an eye-opening experience for sure, and an accomplishment, but it takes 5 years, at least 5 years, to acquire the academic skills necessary in a second language to go to college. Also, unlike an EAP course, in a French class, Spanish class, or American Sign Language class here at HCC, a good bit of those are conducted in a language that's common to all students, English. But for EAP students, it's a constant deciphering of what's being said, written, or read. Back to the placement test. This test assesses a student's proficiency and will place them into one of 6 levels. Why 6? It's a common number, certainly for community colleges and other colleges across the country throughout the state of Florida, and also for many intensive English programs like the one at USF. Here at HCC, levels 1 through 4, they have 4 skills classes. They've got grammar, writing, reading, speech listening, and so each level through 1 through 4 is 12 credits. Levels 5 and 6, we compacted into 8 credits each for each level. And once they reach level 5, they can start taking some regular college classes, like some math classes, SLS, student life skills, and also CGS 1000. And then after that, they can take any college class that they need, that they have the prerequisites for. But consider, if they enter at level 1, then it's going to take them at least, I would say 2 years, but you have to go every summer and take 4 classes, and we don't recommend that because your head will explode and it'll be very ugly. So it will take at least 3 years to get to the program, and that's if all goes perfectly well. But remember, it just takes that long because that's the time language acquisition takes the exposure. But plus there can be roadblocks along the way. Life happens, illness, deaths, births, and as much as they try not to let this interfere with their studies, sometimes they just do. So classes get dropped. One of my students this semester had a baby the week before classes started and only missed the first week of class.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, there are also financial and administrative obstacles as well. So class cancellations due to low enrollment, that can happen. For example, at EBOR, we haven't had level 1 in several semesters now, but now we finally got it this semester. Yay! On the books. All right. So these roadblocks, these obstacles, they can affect our numbers, our metrics, our retention rates, our graduation rates. It's complicated, but we've got some great numbers. Last year here on the Ybor campus, 61 students completed our program through level 6, and they celebrated this accomplishment at our EAP completion ceremony last May, together with their family and friends who saw them through the whole process. This is a great success, and we are also looking at tracking the success rates of non-native speakers who complete EAP programs here and across the state as well. But even when they leave our program, they're not done. They're still learning. They're not perfect, but they're sharp. They may lack a lot of cultural understanding, historical knowledge that their classmates have, but they are keen language learners who, by the time they leave our program, can spot a fragment and a comma splice and know their way in and out of a 5-paragraph essay, that's for sure. They've also learned how to study and hopefully picked up enough cultural and historical knowledge to not get lost as soon as their instructors or classmates open their mouths. So watch out, here they come. Get ready for an injection of diversity into your classes. Students originally from Cuba, Colombia, Morocco, Tunisia, Russia, Ivory Coast, Haiti, Algeria, Korea. Every year we celebrate this diversity with an international festival. But don't let the name fool you. These are not international students. There may be a few, but the vast majority live here, have been living here. They're staying here. The United States is their country now. They are proud of their heritage, just like a lot of us are proud of ours. Many of them belong to a category of what the textbooks call visible minorities, and meaning that somehow their difference is visible. Now, if these students are not visible minorities, they are most likely audible ones. But what I'd like to say is, try to listen beyond the accent. Imagine if every time you opened your mouth, someone asked you where you were from, but you've been living here forever, right? Or where you were from. It's very rare for someone to learn a second language after adolescence and not retain an accent. We begin learning the intonation of our mother tongue when we're in our mother's womb. And it's very hard to let go of because of the way our brains are wired and how they develop. Or imagine being asked about your clothes or a custom every time you leave the house. These students spend a lot of time feeling their difference in negative ways. I hope that we, as a college community, can help create positive ways for them to experience this difference. But how do we do that? They have a lot to offer, such vast differences in perspective and knowledge about the world. But how can we benefit from that knowledge? How can we help them to educate us? So I'm speaking for them. They're why I wanted to talk about diversity, for us to talk about diversity. I think tonight is a great start, but I think we could do more. What can we do to raise awareness about diversity and its implications? For example, if you're sitting in a classroom, having a class discussion, do you want to be called out to speak on behalf of you and yours? A woman, a man, a black man, an Asian, a Muslim, a Christian, an atheist, a heterosexual, a homosexual, a bi, pan, transsexual. Who does your identity belong to? Certainly we can't say if she didn't want to be asked that question, she wouldn't what? Wear the scarf? Speak with an accent? Have brown skin? What is the language of inclusion? What is the behavior of inclusion? Hopefully a kind that allows for hiccups along the way, because this is not an easy topic. Because, and then we all make mistakes, even when we're trying to do good, sometimes especially when we're trying to do good. So what is the language of inclusion? As far as EAP is concerned, I recommend that my students speak a language that everyone around them can understand. In that case, it's English. And I hope that you would do the same if you're faced with a language learner. You might make an extra effort to be clear. But also, how do we speak to each other as students, classmates, instructors, administrators? Why is this important? There's a phenomenon known as identity threat that affects scholastic performance that makes a compelling case for looking at this more closely. I'm very proud to be part of a college and a campus that celebrates diversity and is proud of it too. Maybe we should start to talk about it and learn about it and figure it out even more. Maybe a committee or a club or a professorship, or all of the above. But as much as we're going to talk about difference and diversity, I think we could also talk about similarity. Maybe we should start from there. After all, we are one human race. A fascinating tidbit that demonstrates this very well can be seen in how languages approach colors. For example, if a language only has names for 2 colors, only 2, then they are dark or black, and light or white, or something similar. Not one or the other, these 2 are a package deal. If there is another name for a color, a third color, it's always red. Now, that doesn't mean that these colors can't be perceived by the people speaking these languages. It just means that in that culture, there's not a need to give it a name. They might say, like for red, they might say the color of blood, for example. And what do you know? That's the color of all of ours. Thank you.